Hello, hello. Thank you for joining me. This is day 3, a reading from Book 14, Alan Watts, The Meaning of Happiness. I've included a link in the notes in the case that you'd like to see more details about the book. Unless you accept all that the loneliness and isolation of self-consciousness involves, every attempt to get away from it will be futile. The ego cannot abolish the pain of conflict between itself and the universe simply by trying to identify itself with the essence of that universe, which is God. Paradoxically, it must realize its union with God by being an ego, for the very reason that that is what God Himself is doing in that particular human being. Acceptance for us is therefore to say, let it live to the whole situation, to the ego and its desires, to life and destiny, and also to the war between them. This acceptance is made in the knowledge that the conflict and all its parties are aspects of a single living activity which employs a seeming discord to achieve the understanding of a harmony, which in fact has never been and never can be broken. There is always a conflict between the ego and this regressive desire, this principle of inertia and backsliding, which the Hindus call tamas. If that conflict is repressed and left unrecognized, the desire tricks the ego into situations where the conflict will be continued and intensified in various disguises. I think that this is a point that deserves some emphasis, so I'm going to add some texture here. I've noticed that there are circumstances that are surrounded by tension or energy that we could characterize as negative or uncomfortable, that are repetitive or circular, seem to come around again and again in different forms. And in those instances, I think that what is happening is that we are investigating something within us that we may recollect on a cellular level, but not quite yet at the cognitive level. And we are recreating a stage on which to investigate the ingredients of those circumstances such that we may integrate a recollection of them on every level of our being. When we notice that we are repeating a cycle, when we're having that feeling of deja vu, I've already been here, I've already learned this. How have I arrived at this situation yet again? How did I blanket some of the ingredients of my circumstances such that I didn't recollect what was happening until it was too late? We are standing on incredibly fertile ground to investigate something further. I think that very dilemma is an opportunity. It suggests to us that there is something more to integrate, that there is something more to understand. From a more playful stance, we could say that it suggests that there is another pirouette to add to our dance, or another note to add to our composition. I think the recreation of the personality might fairly be described as becoming conscious again of our plurality, of our many souls, and having them all contribute to our being instead of one at a time. One's degree of spirituality does not depend on how much of your unconscious you have assimilated. It depends on how ready you are to accept and assimilate it when it comes in its own time. Enlightenment is found by accepting fully the place where you stand now. Modern man finds himself in the stage of human evolution where there is a maximum division between his ego and the universe. For him, enlightenment is the complete acceptance of that division. The way of acceptance and spiritual freedom is found not by going somewhere, but in going, And the stage where its happiness can be known is now, at this very moment, at the very place where you happen to stand. It is in accepting fully your state of soul as it is now, not in trying to force yourself into some other state of soul which, out of pride, you imagine to be a superior and more advanced state. The point is not to accept it in order that you may pass on to a higher state, but to accept because acceptance in itself is that higher state. Thank you for joining me today in my studies. I will look forward to sharing more with you tomorrow.